And hello, everybody, and you are very welcome to Menopause Thursday here on the Well Expo Facebook page. It's only one thing I kind of have to say is when it comes to menopause, how are your moods? Are you snappy? Are you irritable? Whatever. I am chatting now to our guest today, Mary McHugh, psychotherapist from counsellingonline.ie. And Mary, what can I say about menopause and moods? I mean, I know what my own are like. You're very welcome. Give us some insight, some sanity, please.
So as you were saying that, I was thinking, really, it is how moody am I? Not what my mood is like, how moody am I? Because it changes all the time. Yeah, so it's quite an experience to be going through. So I'm very much in the middle of it.
Yeah, we both are. And that's the thing, but just before we tip into that, is that you were the founder of counsellingonline.ie.
Yes, yeah. So that was back in 2011, well before, I suppose, COVID and lockdown and all of that happened. We've been doing it for a long time because we've seen there were lots of people that needed the service that actually weren't able because maybe high anxiety or maybe they lived in another country. So we had, I suppose, we really seen that it was necessary to begin a service for people and meet them where they were at, not where we thought that they should be, So yeah, it has been, I suppose, such a big journey for us for a good many years. But since COVID lockdown, it has gone into just supersonic speed. And we have been just so busy, which I think is actually a great thing, because it's letting people know. I suppose people are becoming more comfortable with doing it online as opposed to face to face, where before they might have thought they'd never do that. So I see it as
because they're in the security of their own home while they're chatting, which makes them more relaxed anyway.
Yes, yeah, and it gives them that maybe bit more of power back, but also it is like, and there's menopause. It comes in and it ruins my train of thought. just as
here, you're all right.
So that's one example of menopause at work. So I'm in the middle of talking, and next thing it's gone. But that's okay. But the other thing is that it is showing us that people are struggling. Since COVID, they're struggling between relationships. They're struggling having to be cocooned in. And also now we're seeing there's a big struggle of anxiety for people having to come out and go back to work. So that's really hard. So
absolutely. So and the thing with menopause is when it comes to, I mean, it was one thing being kind of moody or emotional, knowing that, well, there'll be, my partner will be gone out to work in the morning, I'll have the time to myself, or the kids will be gone to school, I'll have that space. But actually, during lockdown, menopause and moods and emotions kind of just, well, I know for me at points really exploded, and you end up asking yourself, why did I do that? Why did I snap? Why did I think? And it was a whole combination of everything.
Sure. And you're not sleeping, so there's so much going on. So you're exhausted. You're I suppose you're comfort eating. There's just so much happening, and the body is trying to process it. You have really no idea, except for I can't sleep, I'm irritable, my moods, I'm sad, I'm anxious. I suppose for me, I really began to see like an anxiousness come over me, which was, maybe I was anxious, but was able to quell it. But that anxiety has gotten more and more over the menopause. But I suppose the way I see menopause, Barbara, it is a transition. It's like we have done the transition in puberty from the child into the woman, and that takes a long time. As you know, so there's years of that transitioning before we are a woman, and then there is the years of being the woman, and now we're in that transitioning, and we're still the woman, but it is owning, I suppose, the woman that we have to allow ourselves through that process of change. It's a bit like the caterpillar, you know, cocooning and going in and becoming the butterfly. Nobody can really do it for us. And I suppose there's lots of supplements and things to help us, but we're the only ones that can go through that. And my thinking is the more present I am to myself, because I suppose as we come into menopause, we've also came to the end of our childbearing years and possibly rearing years.
Yeah.
So there's both there. And it's like, so who am I at the end of it? So there's nearly an identity crisis, because, you know, whether I'm wife, whether I'm mother, whether I wasn't mother, I wanted to be mother and wasn't. So there's just a whole lot of stuff that we are dealing with and coming to the end of. So it's a real grieving of sorts.
It is actually for a lot of women. It, you know, it does. I have to say, I'm sorry, ladies, I wasn't in that category. I just kind of went, oh, thank God, because for me, but that's my personal story, because I felt, okay, you know, my contribution to society is done. Now I can start looking after me. But actually, it was probably the last thing I did was you actually start looking after you, because in my case, and I know your children are older than mine, but I was, as they were getting older, I actually had less time. It was easier when they were smaller.
Yes.
You know, there was less time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were at that busy stage, you know, and then it shifts from there again. So I'm so grateful. I became a grandmother 8 weeks ago, so 9 weeks ago. So I'm going into another new stage. Except the biggest thing that I'm seeing from that, and that's menopause again, is that when I hold him close to me, I can't see him. So I have to hold him a little bit away from myself, or else I have to put on the glasses. So, and I'm not there yet. So pride has it, even though I do my morning meditation every morning live, and maybe one day out of 10, you'll see me put glasses on because my eyesight is so bad that I will put, but I'm still very reluctant to hit that one, you know, that I have to wear the glasses, you know.
God, but it must be, but then as you say now, you're coming into that other stage now, but going back, but if you look back though, say, you know, about 5 or 6 years ago when it was kind of starting to, those emotions, it's funny because I know for myself, you're there going, why, let me put it this way. When you're 10 or 12 or whatever, and your mommy is talking to you, you kind of know, well, sweetheart, you know, by about the age of 13, you're going to have your periods, and that's going to be the start. And that's that stage. And then when we get up into our 40s though, or for some it might be earlier, depending on their situation, you don't really know if it is or it isn't, or because it's not as clearly defined as when we were going into puberty.
No, it definitely isn't. And it comes and it stops. And you think, okay, and you question a lot of things, and then it comes and then it stops. And so it's like, it's either coming or it's going, and then it comes again, and it's quite regular, and then it'll stop again. So it's all of that, that not knowing, and everyone is different. You know, all of my peers, my friends, you know, we're in the same age group, and it's like, and we're all at different stages in it. And some of us quite similar and thinking, oh yeah, I'm ahead of you and I'm behind you, and we're not, because it's not linear. You know, it just takes its own road. But
hormonally then, our moods and our emotions, you know, like I know sometimes you might you kind of feel a bit snappy, or you're wondering, why did I snap? I mean, all he did was ask me a very simple question. I say he because I happen to have my boys here at the moment. You know, and it can be the simplest question, but for some reason mentally we just kind of fire on all cylinders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's something as well, Barbara, around our defense mechanisms. So you know, as we go through, I suppose, every month, our defenses go down and we have the PMS, you know, so that is we're weepy and we're cranky and we're irritable. But actually, as women, we tend to push a lot of stuff down anyways, you know, so we stay quiet about a lot of things. We just get on with it. As you said, you know, he'll be gone in the morning to work. So I breathe and I just get on with it. But at that time of the month, our defenses go down and then all the stuff starts coming up again. So what they say about menopause is the defenses are gone down and all the stuff that I haven't dealt with in my life starts surfacing, and I start nearly dealing with stuff that's way, way back starts coming to mind. And that's what it is. They say that it's a real opportunity for real growth and healing for us to transition then into, I suppose, the harvest of our life, where we can gather up all the, you know, the stuff that we have grown throughout the years. And, you know, we have this harvest time then, which is full of abundance. But this time at the moment is we have to trudge through all the stuff that we haven't dealt with. And that can be really difficult. And I suppose my field, I would find a lot of women in their mid to late 40s, that's when they embark on the spiritual journey of healing. And they come inwards because they've spent so long outwards, and we're givers, you know, the female is a giver. And then this transition comes and we turn to look at ourselves, and we mightn't be happy. For a lot of people, they're not. They're very angry with themselves. So it's that dealing with all of that until we come to a place, once we get through menopause, of real acceptance and owning the woman that we are.
And actually that kind of reminds me, because in Chinese medicine, they call it the second spring.
Okay.
You know, and I think, and what you're saying kind of resonates with that, is because in a sense, we are rediscovering, as when we're going through menopause, those emotions, as you say, what maybe we hadn't dealt with, is actually our defenses are down. They're starting to come to the surface. So to enable us to seize that second spring, to go through, we need to let all that go. And I mean, one of the ways very simple thing that I did and do in my house is, and for any woman out there listening, I would suggest it, I actually get a sheet of paper and I write on it and I stick it on the door of whatever room I'm in. And it might say something like, don't even think about it. And just to give me that time to process whatever it is that's going on in my head at that moment. And my friends will tell you, I will do that.
Yeah. And there's something in that, Barbara, around setting boundaries, isn't there, really? Because, you know, as we are probably, for those of us that have raised kids or whatever, our boundaries mightn't have been because somebody comes in and this happens and that happens, and we have to shelve ourselves, where we're actually, we come to a stage where, no, it's not okay. And my body won't let me carry on the way I did. It needs to let people know it's not okay, or this is what I need, or this is what's wrong with me. And we begin then to have maybe a bit more respect for ourselves. Eventually, it takes time for that to develop, but it feels like it's a whole process into the wise being that we become. You know, they talk about the wisdom of old age. So it is in that actually we are transitioning from this place of giving to now giving back to ourselves, taking in. And in that we find out so much about ourselves because we slow down as well. The body has slowed down, metabolism has slowed down. And it is in that slowing down, I feel, that actually we begin to have clearer seeing around things. And that's where the wisdom comes from, because we take time and we understand more. We see a bigger picture rather than being narrow focused on.
Yeah, because funny, I was having a similar conversation with somebody the other day where she happened to say to me, she said, you know, she said one of the things is, and she's actually works in the same field as yourself. Okay. She said, you know, mums or women, actually women in general, they're everybody's fixer are their own. So it is a tendency for us to try and fix everybody else and help them.
Yeah.
But then, as you say, to start then digging in to ourselves and find our own mental and physical space where we can actually start to, and I say fix, I'm not saying that somebody is broken, because I can assure you menopause does not mean you're broken.
No.
But it's just all that emotion and think, because we do need to heal.
Yeah. And it's compassion and care for self, you know, but we have forgotten ourselves.
Yeah.
In, I suppose, the race of everything. There's a lovely poem by John O'Donoghue. So in the race of days, we have forgotten ourselves, you know, and it is that actually the body now is starting to slow us down, so that we can come home, and that we can really pay attention to ourselves and see what we have neglected over the years. And again, it is that chance of a second spring or a second coming, because if we don't take this opportunity, the body will find a way to get your attention.
Yes.
And it will pull you down, whether it is in mental disease or physical disease. It finds a way. If I'm not listening, it's going to scream louder. And I see that all the time in my work. And I see it within myself as well. You know, so if I'm pushing it too much, my body will start screaming at me, and I have to come back.
Yeah, we do have to, and it is a hard thing for us as women to listen to ourselves, you know, because we always want to be, as I was saying, the person just to help someone else. We can listen to you. But the thing is, as women, when we are listening to others and helping others, which is, you know, it's in our nature, it actually deflects from possibly what we should be doing for ourselves. It gives us something else to focus on.
That's right.
Rather than actually focus on
it keeps
ourselves.
us so far away from ourselves. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you look at our bodily structure, you know, we have breasts, you know, so it is that the life is drained out of us. You know, everybody takes from us, and it's not that everybody takes, we give and we give, and we are drained from that, where actually, again, when the, you know, menopause comes and all of that cycle is gone, there's no preparing in the body for any of that, for the feeding, for the nurturing. So it is all that more time is that nurturing can come back to self. Yeah,
it's you know, I'm sitting here thinking of different things here. Like I remember my son, I think actually just two of my boys, my poor boys, I keep referring to my poor boys, like I do have a daughter too, you know, but I think it was two of them at one point, just they both happened to come into the room at the same stage, at the same time.
Yeah.
But two completely different questions. And mentally, at that moment, I couldn't take it. And I just let rip. And the look on their faces was enough to tell me, hang on. And I just said to them, just give me 5 minutes. Just because I shocked myself. There was absolutely no reason for it. It was you know, so, and I'm sure there must be women out there themselves.
And that's where we tie ourselves up with guilt as well, you know, and there really is, I suppose, an unconscious process going on. And I suppose I remember back years and years ago, I suppose my youngest son was maybe about, I think maybe 9 or 10, maybe 10. And I was in such bad form, and I had no concept of why I was in bad form. And I was training, I think, at the time to be a therapist. And so I was journaling away. So my hand started writing away. And it turned out, and it completely frightened me, because what was written on the page was like, oh my God, I wasn't aware that I was feeling that. And what it was that when I suppose he was coming 10 or 11, so Christmas was changing for him. I have to be careful on who might be. So Christmas was changing for him. But for me, it was, I seen that was the last stage before the next stage, which was him leaving the nest. And I was in such a flap, because I was so devastated, because who was I? And I can even feel it as I say it now, because
I can feel it myself, because I remember that feeling
you
well.
remember it. Yeah. So who am I? Because I'm a mammy. This is my job, and this is who I am. And I really seen that I was actually hiding behind my 3 children. And they were at the forefront, but they were going to be gone, and I'm going to be exposed. And I think maybe because I had my children younger, that's a lot of what's going on for women in the menopause too. It's like, who the hell am I? And who am I going to be? And that's very scary. I remember that feeling, and it was awful. It was an awful feeling.
Yeah, and I can completely relate. And
you can, yeah.
Esther, I think you said there were some comments coming in there. I know we normally do these at the very, very end, but I think,
Yeah. There's one here from Ruth. What's the average age of menopause in Ireland, and how long is the run into it, like perimenopause?
You see, I know for myself, from my own research within coaching, that there actually is no average age, and there is no average length of run-in, and that as much as every woman will go through it in some shape or form at some point, it's completely different for everyone. Mary, would you?
Yeah, they say it takes around 15 years. Okay, and I know that can be horrific to hear. So there's the 5 years of the perimenopause, there's menopause, and then there is the dealing. Like, I have my partner's sister says to me, "Oh, you haven't hit it yet." It's like once the period stops, there's another onslaught of whether it's the hot flushes and all that comes with it. So you're talking, like, I am in it, and I'm still perimenopausal. So I've been in it maybe 5 to 7 years.
And I do the same.
And you the same. So they're saying 5 to 7. Menopause is a year, isn't it? They say once you're a year without a period, then you're in menopause, and then it's postmenopause. So all in all, about 15 years.
Yeah, and if somebody as well, there can be medical interventions that would bring somebody into early menopause.
Yeah.
And I know actually from talking to there's a friend of mine in Dublin, was that she didn't realize, that treatment that she was getting was going to do that to her, that in itself then can also, that is, medically you're going through something, and then your emotions now have to start thinking, oh my God.
And if you've been forced into it unnaturally as well, there's that. But there's another side. There are a lot of women that don't even notice that they've gone through menopause. So they just sail through.
Can I meet one of them? I want to know their story. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah.
I think we've scared a few people away.
Oh no!
Jane's got a scared face on here. There's just another comment. It's great that you're talking about this subject. It's not talked about enough.
Yeah, I suppose part of the reason for bringing it into the webinars each week, or the webcasts, was that I had a particularly bad night one night, and I said, well, if I'm having this, there's plenty of other women out there having that, you know. So that's why we brought on, and that's why I have, somebody like yourself on, Mary, to chat about it as well.
Yeah.
Because the mental side of things also ties in with what Anne-Marie was talking about last
week,
on fitness.
Yeah.
And being able to find ways of, managing that. And it's a mental exhaustion, Mary.
Oh, absolutely. And it affects, because if I'm mentally exhausted, physically I'm not able to do the exercise. So you're caught in that loop of, and it's really difficult. And one of the big things that women will find is the anxiety, which I have experienced. Other things are like itch. I don't know, have you experienced that? But oh my gosh, so my whole body, and again, it's the drying out of maybe the fat underneath the skin, even though there still must be lots of fat. But the scratching and the itching, and so there's all of that. It's nearly like there's a new skin coming. but it's like, oh, and you could tear at it. So I know there is, and it's not giving out names, but it's saved the day for me, for anybody that would have itch. It's an aqueous cream with menthol in it. And it's absolutely fantastic for anybody that has any sort of itching. It just puts a balm and soothes that. But anxiety, panic attacks, palpitations, depression, dizziness, weakness, nausea, migraines, and and we're going to the doctor all the time, but actually quite a lot of it is menopausal. And come home, can I sit with myself? Can I take time out and just check in with myself? Because we don't. And you will find it gets a lot easier when I do that.
Yeah, and you even mentioned I know you were studying, but the power of writing. And remember, we had Bridget on Tuesday.
Yes,
and
yes.
What can become, not even just what can become of your writing, but as I always say, paper is a great listener. It doesn't
Absolutely.
answer back.
But there is a huge unconscious process that people don't really know about that happens in writing. And if you freehand and freehand write, actually the body will tell you through the pen what's going on for it, because it's nearly like, and it's not that we're a separate identity, but it's nearly like there's me and there's the body. And I'm going about my daily whatever, and the body is holding everything for me, and it's doing everything for me, and it's digesting, and it's breathing, and it's doing all these things for me, and it's getting sick of it because you're not paying any attention to it. So it starts to scream at you. So palpitations, panic attacks, depression, anxiety, itching, all of these things are ways to come home.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you now, and I wasn't actually going to say this, but I want to, but you were chatting about your young lad now coming to the end. I had to go somewhere the other day, yesterday, a first trip out of lockdown, okay, and I was kind of, yay, because I had to go down to Sligo. I know Sligo. I got lost, right? I got lost. I had this sat-nav voice coming, carry on up the road, take the next left. I am cursing like I don't know what at this sat-nav, and I'm driving. So I got lost. And I just pulled into a car park that I'm familiar with. And I just sat behind the wheel and I bawled.
Great.
And I kind of, and I'm sitting there going, why am I crying? And I said, my God, one, I got lost because I don't know what was going on up here. And two, I started crying when I stopped the car in the car park. It was whatever it was, but I do know a lot of that was down to whatever it is going through with menopause.
No, absolutely. And really great that, it's nearly like the universe construes it in a way to get you to that point where it'll get you to let the tears out, to release, because there is all of that release and that needs to be done. We've a lot to let go of. And we've carried an awful lot through our 45, 50 years. So it is that unshackling of that.
Yeah, it was great then. I came home and I had a bath and I just went, right, that's it, turned off the phone, and I had my evening in front of NCIS.
Absolutely.
And I was as happy as Larry.
Yeah.
Mary, I know that this conversation could actually go on all day. Esther, have we any more questions in there or comments?
Jane's saying that she gets hives all over her at certain times of the month and migraines. So she feels you.
So I'd say
so this is the body, absolutely. And migraines as well is around tears, because it is, if the pain goes right up into the head, it's sort of it's not coming here. So can I sit with myself? And you may find that a good cry might help her. Yeah. And it's the body screaming, I'm sore, I'm hurt, look after me.
I love listening to you talk, I have to say, Mary. I think you're wonderful for connecting with people. And I know that even when you came up in January and you spoke at the event, so many people came to me and said, that lady is amazing. So for anybody out there, I know Mary and her colleagues are available at the counsellingonline.ie. you know, and I would say just pop through a question, and I'm sure, you know, and at any time, and they'd be able to help you. But Mary,
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we do every morning. If anybody would like to join us, I do a loving kindness meditation every morning, and I do it anyways, and that's what sustains me. So that's done every morning, and we have then talks in the afternoon. And during the day, we have different things on our Facebook page. So it's the Irish Online Counselling and Psychotherapy Service if people want to pop over there, and if they have any questions, absolutely. We mightn't know the answers, but we'll do our best.
Lovely. Mary, thank you so much for coming on today.
Real pleasure,
thoroughly
Barbara.
enjoyed that. And even if those out there watching, you now know, yes, that if I get lost going through this, I will sit and I will cry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Allow whatever is to be, you know, because we need to give everything space.
I have to say, I always felt there's always something about having a good cry that just is great for releasing the emotions.
Even as a child, you know, you'd have a great sleep after a good cry. I used to anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Mary, thank you so much for coming on.
You're very
I'm
welcome,
sure
Barbara.
we're still probably going to get comments on the post, but I'm looking forward to chatting to you again soon.
Thanks a million, Barbara. Really great to be here. Thank you.